Welcome to the How HR Leaders Change the World podcast. I'm your host, Cecilia Crossley, and each week we explore how the work of HR leaders is also creating positive social change, contributing to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, goals which the world's companies are increasingly understanding the urgency of achieving and investing in the action required. If you'd like clear, actionable ideas for how you can use the power of your role to affect change in your company, you're in the right place. Following a corporate upbringing, I founded the social enterprise From Babies with Love. We provide services to HR leaders, and through this work, I realised that HR professionals and social entrepreneurs are working in the same areas, albeit in different ways. So we created this podcast to share knowledge on steps we can take through the work of HR. In my opinion, if you're an HR professional, you are also a change maker. And this podcast will provide you with examples of how. By sharing the successes of some of the world's most inspiring HR leaders, you can frame your work in the context of positive change, implement brilliant ideas, and feel absolutely wonderful about doing so. A very big welcome to Andrea Euenheim this morning to How HR Leaders Change the World. It's wonderful to have you here, Andrea. Thank you very much for joining us. And may I briefly ask you to introduce Metro AG, where you are CHRO?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Cecilia, for having me, obviously. And it's a great opportunity to be here and talk to you about really interesting topics that do not only matter to me personally, but obviously also to my company that I represent. It's Metro AG. It's a global wholesale company specialized in the HoReCa industry. So everything related to hotels, restaurants, catering services, but also food delivery services around the world. We're about 100,000 employees worldwide in 34 countries.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And you're based in Germany, aren't you? Metro AG is a German company. We can tell by the AG. It's lovely to know the scale that you work at and also that your operations are all over the world. We love to have, global perspectives here on how HR leaders change the world, as so many of the challenges we face today are global. So really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the 5 questions that we ask our HR leaders. So with that, I'll get going on our first question, which is, as an HR leader whose influence creates social change, what do you feel has been your most impactful action to date?
I think, Cecilia, one of our great opportunities that we have in the HR field, and especially in larger corporations, is to build more awareness around people and people in large corporations about the future of work, about the future of talent altogether, specifically about diversity and inclusion in the broadest sense possible. So everybody, people of all abilities, all gender, all races, all everything, really to show their abilities and bring their best to work every day, really unfolding the potential that they have. While at the same time, I think is also creating a new leadership awareness, really this awareness around not only experience matters, it's not only skills that matters, it's also your whole personality that matters in order to define a successful leader now and in the future even more so.
And would I be right to think that you've conducted work with your leadership board, of which you are a member, to support them in bringing their whole selves to work as leaders?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, interestingly enough, this journey started with my new role that I took 18 months ago here at Metro, being the first female board member that was ever hired into the company of 55 years. And so I think I have a very special responsibility to also look at very diverse perspectives of leadership and a different awareness around leadership, being very authentic in the way you lead teams and a company. And while we're all focused on meeting the targets, I think this element of kindness, this element of being inclusive in everything that matters is the most important piece, because thankfully we're a people company and we have all these great human beings working with us. And that is the big benefit that we have altogether.
And in terms of any of our listeners today that are also doing similar pieces of work for their leadership, would there be any examples that you have that you feel were, just your favourite pieces of work that you really felt made a difference to the broader programme that your leadership is on in respect of inclusive leadership?
Yeah, I think one of the major transformation efforts that we started upon me joining the company was to ask a big group of people to really redefine the company values, to redefine who we are, how we want to work together, how we want to contribute, but also, in terms of career progression and also development, is what does good look like in this company? So everyone has more of the safety and orientation in terms of these are the goals that matter. And this is the kind of work environment that I can expect, which was very, very powerful in the way that the company values were created from the people, for the people, which typically happens somewhere in a corporate office, and then you impose something on a person in Myanmar or India, and they say, this does not ring a bell for me at all. This does not really in any way help me to get more of a better understanding or orientation of how we want to work together here in the team. This has been super powerful and a great success for us all together.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear. And you just mentioned 2 of the countries that you operate in, 2 very different places with different cultures, and across the whole of Europe as well, imagining the contrasts or differences and similarities that the cultures have. How did you manage to incorporate all the different viewpoints that must have come from the people you work with in all those different places?
Not always easy, because it's not a one size fits all. And I think you want to show a direction in terms of these are the points that we really want to achieve as a company. Whereas these are elements where you have your freedom to shape it for your team or your culture, and use the language that you need in your culture to describe what truly matters the most. And I think a big element of this, and this is also something that I think is absolutely critical for a successful company to consider, is giving ownership to each and every one that you work with in the organization. And there is still this common understanding of, if you would consider someone like a blue collar worker or lower level worker, however you want to call it, that they have less ownership or have less power over the decisions that they need to make as part of the job that they're doing. And I'm someone who really counts on all power to the people, because if you have the ownership, you will make the right decisions because you own the things that you're working on.
I love that little soundbite, Andrea. All power to the people. That's wonderful. I'm going to remember that. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And our second question is thinking a bit more broadly about the industry that you are a CHRO in, knowing, of course, that some of the sectors that you work in, such as hospitality, have had a very difficult time recently with the pandemic. But it's just a chance to hear your thoughts on what you think is the most exciting opportunity for HR to change the world in the, forgive me, I forgot the abbreviation of the sector you described that covers, hospitality and HoReCa, yes, thank you. So across HoReCa, what excites you most as the opportunity for HR at the moment?
I think what is most exciting in this industry is really working so closely with our customers. We're in a B2B business, so we're taking joint responsibility with our customers to now reopen, reshape, and even grow our customers' business further. And if you look at the industry, hospitality overall, it's usually the places where you go that are strongly linked to something emotional. If you think about a hotel where you have spent a wonderful vacation, or a restaurant, your favorite restaurant or bar, or wherever you go and have a drink after work, even think about where you probably met your partner or the majority of your friends. So this is something, this emotional side of things, this crisis has been incredibly emotional to all of us. But I think what we have achieved, we transformed this emotion into a very positive one, into an exciting opportunity to help our customers to really get out of this crisis and win even further, because what have you been longing for in this crisis was finally going back to a restaurant, or not cooking at home and having like the pizza shoved in the oven and sitting in front of a TV at night. So this has been a huge opportunity for us. And I think what we have done really well as a company altogether is really being very flexible at the time of the initial crisis to say safety first, which isn't always super easy with the stores and everything that we have, where you still have customer interaction. So you need to make sure that, you know, your people are safe, that they feel comfortable coming to work still. And so it was all about protecting our people, but also protecting our customers with the different opportunities that we have. But then also preserving our business, our assets, our financial means, because nobody knew and anticipated how long this crisis would last. So I think we have been very conservative with regards to the spending and trying to reduce the cost as much as possible. But at the same time, really looking at the third pillar to look into the future and not get stuck in the present or past, but really look forward to the great opportunities that lie ahead of us. And I think we're all incredibly happy to see that there is really light at the end of the tunnel now, that seems to be a little bit more permanent than what we had experienced in the last fall.
And I really heard what you were saying about the emotional relationship with the kind of places in the HoReCa sector. You know, immediately in my mind, I was thinking of all the special places to me. You can't not, you know, immediately think of them. Mm-hmm. And in achieving that for the sector, can you already foresee changes to what is considered normal HR practice that will help your customers achieve success, and therefore Metro AG too? Are you working on anything that will be different going forward?
I think what we have been working on together with our customers to really consult them on more flexible business models, because we are also now see a shift in the behavior of their customers, that I think overall we look at more flexibility in our lives going forward. And this flexibility also means that our customers and us as a company, we need to think about how we more flexibly serve our customers and deliver the services that we have. So we're currently we have doubled down on digital solutions as we went through the crisis. We have given our customers the ability to use like a meal order tool through Google and the normal Google website, in order to avoid that our customers need to pay very, very high prices for the delivery heroes, for Deliveroo and all these kind of food delivery services, where our customers paid a fortune, like up to 30% of a meal for this delivery service. So they were hardly making any money. And so we have now found a solution that they can use for free that gives them the opportunity to continue to do delivery services, whereas at the same time, they're so excited to host customers and guests back in their restaurants. But that also means that we had to, and are still retraining our sales force to more flexibly guide our customers through different services that we offer. We also look at enhancing our delivery services even further, that it's like a frustration-free delivery for regular products that you need anyway. And then if you go to our stores or try to order something special, that you have the time to select those products individually while spending more time with your guests in the environment that you're normally in, and don't worry too much about going shopping in our stores.
How HR Leaders Change the World is brought to you by From Babies with Love, and this episode is sponsored by our very own parental leave gift service. We help solve the challenge of connecting with colleagues across parental leave and in returning to work, contributing to talent retention and so too gender balance strategy. From Babies with Love donates 100% of its profits to orphaned and abandoned children. Your beautiful, sustainably sourced From Babies with Love gifts come with the story of how your company is also helping a less fortunate child, creating meaningful engagement. We transform spend that so often already takes place on flowers or products that don't have the Sustainable Development Goals at their heart. We transform that spend to become a consistent, inclusive and strategic part of your working parents programme. Ask us to tell you more at frombabieswithlove.org. Make an impact at a defining moment. So do you see that your own workforce will also be more flexible in the future as a result of the flexibility your customers want?
Yeah, I think that is something that we cannot ignore any further. I think our workforce, and especially those who are in like office jobs, I think they're in the same boat with millions of other office workers, where you look to strike some sort of a balance between your presence in the office versus flexible remote working for certain activities. But we also currently wrap our brains around how we can also offer more flexibility to our 70,000 folks who are working in depots and stores, because I think they have the same demands and they also see a need for more flexibility in order to really meet the needs of their professional and personal life altogether. And flexibility, I think we're talking about From Babies with Love. I think there is a huge opportunity for us to also help working parents to strike a better balance, because, every working parent deserves a trophy after the last 18 months. And, speaking out of my own experience, it's a very unique experience that we all went through. And it made very, very obvious that we need more flexibility also for our kids, which, for a crisis, you always say, what a terrible experience, but there have been quite a number of good experiences and insights that I would personally like to retain and use for the future of our work.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for sharing that personal element of your home life. I'm a working parent too, and lots of our listeners are as well. So we're all grateful for the trophies you're giving us all. And that leads us beautifully into our next question, which is to ask if there is an area of social or environmental injustice that you personally feel passionate about, and connecting that to your role as a CHRO, and whether there's been any opportunities to do work that you see contributes to that area of injustice that you would like to share.
I think there is an opportunity specifically in my role to do my best in role modeling family and career as much as possible, to really also be someone who shows that it can actually work to juggle different life decisions and opportunities, to be a working mom or a working parent. One of my very personal goals is to also fight further for supporting people of all abilities in the workplace. And I don't say this because of the war for talent or anything, because of the scarcity of resources. I truly feel, and I have experienced it myself, that we still tend to judge too quickly about who has what potential and who can do what. And I think we never really take the time to see what unfolds with specific talents and opportunities. I'm the mom of an autistic boy, and especially with autistic people, as just one example, where you say it's easy to put a stamp on whatever diagnosis there is, but I think we all have different abilities, and only because there's people who have different skills or a different perspective on life doesn't mean that this is the wrong one and I have the right one. And so this is something where I hope that by taking opportunities to talk about it, that, we all feel encouraged to sometimes lift the curtain and really look very carefully underneath to say, what are the abilities that we all have? At the same time, also something very personal that I'm fighting for, and I wish I would have more time to do so, but hopefully in the future, is also to support kids of underprivileged families or kids with experiences that were probably not as smooth as we were all hoping for, to see what we can do to encourage them to boost their energy and motivation to really take the path that they want to be on. And I come from a farmer's family, and normally you're probably not always encouraged to cross the limits that whatever your family has been foreseeing for you. But the fact that I was never communicated any limits was already a big boost for me. And I'm hoping that I could even go further and encourage so many kids out there to just go for what they want to go for, because it's all worthwhile exploring.
Yeah. Andrea, those were such amazing examples. And again, thank you for sharing some of your personal experiences. And I'm always saying that I feel more and more that the work of CHROs and the work of social entrepreneurs is crossing over so much. And when you were describing your work on people of all abilities being able to thrive in a workforce, I was thinking of a social enterprise called Autocon. They work in Germany, also in the UK where I'm based, providing employment or facilitating employment opportunities in huge companies in IT departments, harnessing the incredible abilities that, again, I don't have technical understanding or knowledge on intricacies of these things, but what a brilliant initiative to just match up skills where the work is, with trying to remove the barriers of the perceptions that you described where we judge too quickly. And also about children who may not have the same opportunities. There are so many social enterprises working on social mobility at the moment that it's another great example of how, we're all caring for people in our two professions. And I feel like we're brothers and sisters, working together on the same things. Yeah.
Yeah, but especially now with the crisis, Cecilia, where we all talk about kids not being able to go to school and probably not being in an environment at home where they have the freedom to learn based on their capacities. I think this topic has become so much more obvious for us, where we have to do something now, because let's not underestimate 18 months during childhood feels like an eternity. And, it has such a big impact on your development, where I feel I have to get much stronger in engaging myself, for sure.
Yeah. And the examples you just gave were so linked to some of the many strands to an inclusive workforce and equity and inclusion at work. And our next question is to ask if you have any examples of action or projects you've implemented at work to bring about greater equity and inclusivity at Metro AG, or indeed in your previous roles.
Yeah.
But in ways that are also, we like to get really commercial here and think about, those projects aren't just social initiatives. They're driving the business goals, the financial business goals of the employer. Do you have any great examples that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we, in the recent years, we have been sponsoring a day at Metro, which is called the Own Business Day, where we're celebrating entrepreneurs of small enterprises. And one year we have been opening a bank account for all the girls that were born on that particular Own Business Day, to encourage them when they're old enough to open their own business. And so this is an investment in the future, and just a small gesture of, what you can do. But I think if you look at our customer base, this is probably one of the most diverse customer base that you can imagine, where if you just look at the landscape of your restaurants in your neighborhood, if there would only be French restaurants, that would be the most boring neighborhood. So I think we live from this very colorful opportunity to have a very strong, diverse customer base. And we're celebrating this with our customers. We look at the customer assortment and the product assortment in that way as well. But we also look at sustainability in a big portion of our business. We are one of the biggest fish processing companies in the world. So I think we need to be a very aware, sustainable company in the way that we manage precious natural resources in the best way possible. And that all starts with a high level of consciousness within our organization. But I think from a diversity standpoint, another big important topic for me is truly the diversity and inclusion, and specifically fighting for the rights of the LGBTQ plus community, where I have been engaging quite a bit in conversations with public authorities last year to fight for the right for gay people to donate blood in Germany, because there is a ban. If you are a gay person in Germany and you donate blood, you cannot donate your blood unless you confirm that you did not have any sexual intercourse for the last 12 months, which is a huge discrimination. And we as a company, we are also fighting for this right, because one of the most important places for blood donations is in companies. And so we said, if we cannot allow everyone in our company to donate blood, we retreat from organizing those. And so we have made steps forward with government officials, the health ministry, and now we have reduced this time from 12 months to 3 months, which is a little bit of a success, but not the end of the story for us. But these are little examples that we have where we say we fight for the rights of everyone at this company. Because if we, as a global company with such diverse workforce, is not disagreeing with certain archaic rules that are in place for no reason, then we're in the wrong place.
Yeah, and I always love, questioning the archaic and not just accepting what always has been. I think it's such an important role for everyone to play. So thank you so much for sharing that powerful example, and congratulations on the success so far. And And Andrea, our final question is for our listeners, who I'm sure have been hugely inspired by the examples and thoughts that you've shared today. If they would like to have something that they feel they can action in the near future to take away from listening to this episode today, what is one specific action you would like to see all your peers and all HR professionals do to make a change for the world?
I think in my typical disruptive way of expressing things, I would say challenge the heck out of your business. Really ask the question, why are we doing the things we do? Help your business and your leaders to look around the corners, to really anticipate not only the risks, but more the opportunities, because I think we are often considered as a safety net, but not necessarily as a source of inspiration and innovation. And I think that needs to change. And we've seen this during COVID, and this is something that we should build upon now to say, continue to be disruptive. Because you only have one chance to do it.
Andrea, what a emboldening and empowering way to that reframing of, what is HR in a company, and absolutely HR changes the world.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's been such a pleasure to welcome you here on How HR Leaders Change the World. Really, really proud to feature you, and thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Cecilia. It was a great pleasure. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of How HR Leaders Change the World. Thank you for tuning in. If you have a moment to leave a review, a 5-star one please, that would be a huge help to achieving our goal to reach more of your peers, so we can all contribute to further and faster positive change. For your copy of the show notes, head to frombabieswithlove.org, where you can also join the How HR Leaders Change the World mailing list, and make sure you don't miss out on future episodes and bonus materials. And for harnessing the power of your role to create positive social change, I'm sending you a jumping up in the air virtual high five. See you next time on How HR Leaders Change the World.